Believe it or not, even with the biggest military budget on the planet, the US Navy just dropped a bombshell that's got the whole naval world spinning. Usually, the US Navy is the big boss. They lead the tech. They almost never buy foreign ship designs off the shelf. For decades, they built their own beasts. But after the disaster that was the Littoral Combat Ship, or LCS program, they needed a win, and they needed it fast. So a few years ago, they swallowed their pride and picked a proven European design for the Constellation-class frigate, hoping it would be the new, reliable backbone of the fleet. The result? A total train wreck. As of late 2025, the US Navy has effectively pulled the plug on the future of the Constellation program. They're likely just finishing the first 2 hulls and calling it quits. Why? Because instead of just building the ship that already worked, they couldn't help themselves. They messed with the specs. They Americanized it to death, lengthening the hull, changing the bulkheads for higher survivability standards, and cramming in so much proprietary tech that the ship became overweight, structurally compromised, over budget, and nearly 3 years behind schedule. It's a multi-billion-dollar lesson that teaches us one simple thing: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But this failure actually proves just how legendary the original design was. Today, I'm talking about the ship that started it all, the iPhone of modern frigates, the model of success known as the FREMM. Today, I'm taking you on a deep dive. Why is the FREMM the chosen one? Why was the original so good that even America wanted it, before they broke it? And if we park it next to a high-performance modern light frigate, which one actually gives you more bang for your buck? Buckle up, because we're about to drop some serious tonnage. Before we get into the firepower, we need to understand its DNA. We have to rewind to the early 2000s. Back then, France and Italy had a massive headache. Their Cold War fleets, the French George Legs class and the Italian Maestrale class, were rusting out. The tech was obsolete, and they couldn't handle modern threats. But here's the kicker: neither country had the cash to build a new fleet from scratch. Budget cuts in Europe were brutal at the time, and designing a warship solo is an incredibly expensive gamble. The only way to survive was to split the bill. So the 2 naval giants, Naval Group from France and Fincantieri from Italy, teamed up. The mission was incredibly tough. Build a ship using a common hull to save on R&D costs, but make it adaptable enough to serve 2 completely different navies with 2 different doctrines. That is the birth of the FREMM. It stands for Frigate European Multi-Mission, or European Multi-Purpose Frigate. Imagine taking the sleek style of an Italian designer and mixing it with French precision engineering. The result is a beast, weighing in between 6,000 and 7,000 tons. That is massive. In the old days, or even by today's standards for many nations, you'd call this a destroyer, not a frigate. It blurred the lines completely. The genius here is the platform. They agreed on the skeleton, but the organs? Totally customizable. France built the Aquitaine-class, focused on hunting submarines. Italy built the Bergamini-class, focused on general-purpose combat. It's like buying a high-end PC case and choosing your own graphics card and CPU based on your budget. This flexibility is exactly why it became a global bestseller. Is it actually good? Just look at the sales receipts. It's not just France and Italy keeping the lights on. Egypt bought them to modernize their fleet overnight. Morocco made it their flagship, the Mohammed VI. Indonesia has been eyeing a massive deal for 6 of them to secure their archipelagical waters. And of course, the US Navy tried to license the design for the Constellation-class. The fact that the Americans wanted to copy it proves the platform is world-class. The fact that they failed to modify it? Well, that's on them. Now, let's talk about a feature people often overlook because it's not an exploding missile, but it's the FREMM's killer app: stealth. And I don't just mean radar cross-section, I mean acoustic stealth. In modern warfare, your scariest enemy isn't on the surface, it's the submarine lurking below. And the anti-submarine warfare version of the FREMM is widely considered one of the quietest ships in the world. The secret sauce is the hybrid propulsion, or CODLAG. That stands for combined diesel, electric, and gas. Here is how it works. When it's hunting subs, this 6,000-ton giant shuts down its noisy gas turbines and runs entirely on electric motors. Picture that, a massive warship gliding through the water with almost zero engine vibration. The engines are mounted on rafts to isolate sound, turning the whole into a ghost. It's a silent hunter. Enemy sonar basically can't hear it coming until it's too late. But warfare isn't always slow. When it's time to chase or run away from a torpedo, it kicks on the General Electric LM2500 gas turbines and hits speeds over 27 to 30 knots instantly. That kind of tactical flexibility, to be a ghost 1 minute and a sprinter the next, is rare, and it's exactly why the US Navy was drooling over this tech for their new frigate. Let's move up to the deck. If silence is the shield, the radar and weapons are the spear. The most obvious feature is the mast, especially on the Italian versions featuring the Leonardo Kronos Grand Naval AESA radar. Put simply, AESA is like having thousands of fly eyes working independently. Old school radars had to physically spin a dish around. If the dish wasn't facing the target, you were blind. AESA scans everywhere at once, electronically steering the beam in milliseconds. It can track jets, sea-skimming missiles, and even tiny suicide drones simultaneously without breaking a sweat. Once the target is locked, the FREMM unleashes hell from its VLS, or vertical launching system. Usually, it packs silver A50 or A70 cells, firing the Aster 15 and Aster 30 missiles. The Aster 30 is the MVP here. It's not just a missile, it's a sniper shot. It has a range of over 100 kilometers and hits speeds of Mach 4.5. It uses an active radar seeker, meaning once it's close, it guides itself. If an enemy jet enters that 100-kilometer bubble, they are in serious trouble. It essentially creates a massive no-fly zone around the fleet. And don't forget the main gun. The Italian version packs a 127mm cannon with Vulcano ammunition. Most ship guns are for warning shots or close defense. This thing fires guided rounds that can hit targets 80 to 100 kilometers away with GPS precision. That means the ship can provide fire support for ground troops inland without ever getting close to the dangerous shore. Here is the showdown you've been waiting for. What happens if we park the FREMM, the European heavyweight, next to a modern light frigate like the DW3000 class? We're comparing different weight classes here. The light frigate is around 3,700 tons, a middleweight. The FREMM is pushing 7,000 tons, a heavyweight. But bigger isn't always better for everyone. Let's look at the specs and the price tag to see where the real value lies. All right, let's break these numbers down. Where does that extra $500 million go? Point 1, size and power. Look at the first line. The FREMM is almost double the displacement. This isn't just for show, it's about seakeeping. In a Category 4 or 5 storm, a 3,000-ton ship is bobbing like a cork. The crew is vomiting and the radar is shaking too much to track accurately. The FREMM, it cuts through the waves. It stays stable. It can operate longer, carry more food, and the crew stays fresh and ready to fight. Point 2. The sound of silence. The propulsion. The light frigate uses CODLAG, fast, reliable, and cheaper to maintain. But the FREMM adds that L for electric. That one letter changes the game. It runs silent. That is a nightmare for enemy submarines. It turns the ship from a target into a predator. Point 3. Long reach versus volume. Here is the highlight. The light frigate only has 8 VLS cells versus the FREMM's 16 or 32. But wait, the light frigate uses the Mk41 with ESSM quad packs. That means 4 missiles per cell, totaling 32 missiles. The difference is the mission profile. The FREMM's Aster 30 kills you from 100 kilometers away. It protects the whole fleet. The ESSM protects the ship itself at 50 kilometers. Do you want a shield for the whole group or a shield for just the ship? Point 4. The painful price tag. And the final line, the one that makes admirals cry. One FREMM costs nearly $1 billion US. For that price, you could buy 2 high-end light frigates, or 1 frigate and a submarine. So the numbers tell the story. The FREMM is the peak of technology, capable of blue water dominance, but the light frigate is the peak of cost effectiveness for regional defense. So, what is the bottom line? The FREMM isn't just a ship, it's a new standard. It proved that modern frigates need to be quiet, hybrid, and flexible enough to handle anything from pirate hunting to World War III. And even though the US Constellation program crashed and burned, that actually proves that the original FREMM design was already perfect. Trying to modify, tweak, or Americanize a perfectly balanced European engineering marvel was a disaster. It's like trying to put a lift kit and monster truck tires on a Ferrari. You ruin the balance. For a superpower, the FREMM is a must-have to project power across oceans. For a medium-sized nation, it might be overkill on the budget, but if you want to dominate the deep ocean and command respect, 6,000 tons is the weight class you need to be in. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were the admiral with a limited budget, would you buy one FREMM and have the ultimate unsinkable fortress, or would you buy 2 light frigates to cover more ocean and swarm the enemy? There is no wrong answer, but I want to know your strategy. Drop a comment below. Let's get a debate going. If you like deep dives like this, no fluff, just facts, hit that like and subscribe button. I've got more military tech stories coming your way that you won't want to miss. I'm Mick, signing off. Catch you in the next one.